You look sharp.
You look sharp.
You look sharp, Michael. So sharp.
What's up, guys? I'm Stephen Moleski.
And I'm Michael Stewart.
And this is Unfiltered. First off, be sure to like and comment for us so we know how we're doing.
And subscribe.
And now that we've done that, let's get into it.
Okay, so my life story in like a couple minutes. So, born and raised in Maine. Love Maine's beautiful. I was working at a movie theater. I was all about film. Favorite movie was Bambi. It was the first movie I ever saw. It was one of those where it kind of clicked for me, just in that I was paying attention to what was happening on the screen, but I was a little bit more intrigued like what was happening behind me in the projection booth. And so cut to me actually working at that same movie theater. For some odd reason, I was like, well, I really like music, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to be a disc jockey or a radio host or whatever. So, and this is before I came out. I'm gay. I went in the radio world for like a hot minute. The first week that I was at school, our professor wanted us to record a PSA. So we all went into the booth or whatever, recorded it. And I'm like, in my mind, I felt like I nailed it. We went back to the room, listened to everybody's, they got to mine, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gay. Because I had never heard what I sounded like. I mean, now I'm like, oh, I talk and a purse falls out. The next day I changed my major to TV and film. From there, I moved to Chicago, went into the fitness world for some odd reason. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Working at Flywheel, which is an indoor cycling studio. They needed someone to go to Atlanta to help like fix a studio there. They asked me would I be interested, and I'm like, well, is it warmer? Because I had never been to Atlanta. Like, yeah, it's hot. I'm like, perfect. Packed up my little scoot car and drove to Atlanta. So I got back into film and TV thanks to my husband. He was working at Anissa, very B2B, and so they needed...
What is B2B?
Business to business.
Yes.
They needed to showcase how the brushes would work to the clients. I would make videos, how the brushes would work, what they look like, so on and so on. So I was able to like spark that flame again, getting back into the TV lighting world. So then Stephen was let go, and then we needed to figure out how we're gonna survive. He's like, what are your thoughts on doing photography? And I'm like, I'm not really interested. We had a model come over, he did the makeup, and then I lit everything, and then he started taking the pictures, and he was like, yeah, I'm not really into this, you wanna do it?
Like 5 frames then.
Pretty much. And then that's it. Like, I just kind of fell into it, and now I work with brands, I do product shots, I do beauty, I do headshots, you name it, I just won't do weddings.
Well, also one of the things that you left out, and I think it goes back to like what we are as a couple, is that I only have ever worked for myself. I've always had the goal to always do what I love before I get what it is, if it pays the bills or whatever, because I know if I do what I love, everything lines up. And so I wanted him to be able to do that because I knew his passion was in video.
It was hard for me to kind of go from like moving pictures where I can say like here, beginning, middle, and end. And in a picture, you're kind of like, it's just that moment. As I started kind of coming into my craft and like doing, you know, the lighting, and then watching like him doing the makeup and hair's involved or whatever, I could kind of have that reel in my head of like, oh, here's the beginning, middle, and end. And like the end is that, you know, the final product. And so it was one of those where seeing my work on billboards or magazine covers or even online, it fulfilled that need that was, I think, missing.
Yeah, that's whatever that spark became, because there was a lot of times in the beginning I relied on him making me look better, and so I was definitely gearing Michael, because he's amazing at lighting, to make my craft. But then as we've developed, he's kind of like branched off and like owned his style, and I've owned my style. And like there's times where like we literally now have photo shoots that are just for you, and then there's photo shoots that are for me. And then there's times where we're like, can we get other people involved so it's not just, it's a broader package of what we stand for and what we do. Basically, I started off, I'm from Bradenton, Florida, which is right next to Sarasota. Reason that is Ringling School of Art is there, and I thought all along I was going to go to art school because that was my passion, that and animals. I realized that artists don't make money until they're dead, and then animals don't make you money and unless you're a veterinarian, and I didn't want to go to school. So the free-spirited me moved out to Orlando when I was 18, days after high school ended, and long story short is I was roommates with drag queens who influenced me in the best ways possible about a world outside of the small town that I was from, where there was Kevin Aquan, who was a huge makeup artist, and music videos, and it was a whole era of behind the scenes with music videos, and I just kind of got the itch, went to Joe Velasco's School of Makeup. While I was there, I only wanted to really do the beauty, but I did the gore also, and the gore definitely wasn't for me. But getting to it is I packed up again, moved to Atlanta, and that's kind of where everything kicked off. Jobs that I think was so pivotal was I worked at the Cheetah, which is a strip club, not dancing, but doing makeup. And it's where I really learned how to, I can dance. Working at the Cheetah was one of those things where people are like, oh, it's a strip club. But I'm like, I learned how to work with all different women. I knew how to build relationships with different personalities. I learned a business structure that when I first got there was nowhere for me to set up. When I left there, they had built a makeup room, lighting, and I had a team of people. But I learned how to make money. When I picked up everything and moved to LA, not knowing anyone, and I didn't work. And I had nothing to rely on. I remember crying. The Hollywood dream was not the Hollywood dream, but I wound up finding a little tiny studio, $900 a month. I thought that was outrageous. But I didn't work for 4 months. I wound up having made a connection in Atlanta with one of the girls that I worked with on a magazine. Martina Andrews introduced me to Kara Monaco. They had done a video with Carmen Electra. Kara wound up being a playmate. And Kara, she trusted me. She let me do her hair and makeup. Back then I was doing hair and makeup. I had never done hair other than seeing it at a hair salon. And I bought tools and did her hair. But she loved what I did, and she used me several times. And then everyone from Tiffany Fallon and all the other girls started wanting to work with me. But 2 girls in particular wanted to work with me, and the one was Bridget Marquardt and Kendra Wilkinson, and they were the girls of Girls Next Door. I wound up working with them for 4 seasons, and during that time I did all their projects. Because I didn't have an agent, I actually couldn't get an agent. I wanted to rep some small town boy that was working for Playboy. I wound up meeting this TV production. They liked my work. They had me doing everybody and everything. One day, it was all the hype that there was this girl. She's Paris Hilton's best friend, and I was clueless. It was like, cool. And then she showed up in her white Range Rover with pink trim, and she walked in and she had her sweatsuit on, and the girl was Kim Kardashian.
Who?
You know Kim Kardashian? I remember doing her makeup, and I just did what I did. I did a soft brown smoky eye. I wound up going home that day and kind of being like, oh, she was really sweet. And it was one of those makeups that I still remember and I loved. Like, it was like a signature look for me. That led to the next day her calling, and she's like, hey, it's Kim Kardashian. Can you do my makeup? And the rest is history. I went over there almost every day. They wound up having a TV show, as everyone knows. And back then, being attached to the Kardashians was not a popular thing. Very much like a passe, because anyone in reality, and all my roster of people were Girls Next Door. It was all the E-craze. No agent still would even give me any representation. So my best agents were Kris Jenner and Kim, because they had me doing all of their friends. And that led to the relationship, one of my longest relationships, which was with Mel B. Mel B is Spice Girls, Scary Spice, and I always wanted to travel the world, and Mel gave me that opportunity because I went to almost so many countries, filled up so many passports, had an iconic run with her. But anyways, so Mel B took me all around the world, and we actually wound up moving to Sydney, Australia. But even when we lived there, we were flying to Melbourne, flying to Manchester, Yeah,
Olympics.
did the Olympics. But yeah, so that's my history.
Dang, that was good.